Hey, it's Sarah with Ampersand Unique Gifts and Home Decor, and today we are going to give this little chair a new life. It's in perfect shape, minus the seat and a little mud, so we're going to start with getting it all cleaned up. Okay, so some of this mud and dirt was very happy where it was and very difficult to wash off even with a scrub brush. So I decided to go ahead and completely take it apart and scrub all of it piece by piece. That way I knew that I was getting all the dirt and mud out of all the little nooks and crannies. So I completely took it apart, washed it, sanded it, and then using Gorilla Glue wood glue, I put it back together and made sure that all of its little parts were glued securely, and then I added the screws to just make sure that if this did become a child's rocking chair again, rather than just a piece of decor, that it would be plenty sturdy for anybody that wanted to rock away in it. So once I got it all back together, then I couldn't wait to paint it with Rust-Oleum chalked in the coastal blue. This was a new color for me, and I just thought it was so pretty, and I was excited to see how it would look with my grain stripe fabric that I got from Jamie Ray Vintage Home, or jrvhome.com. So you'll see in the end, I think that it ended up just being the perfect color. I hardly used any paint, and I have quite a bit left, so you will see that color in future videos. And any of you guys that are sprayers that use a spray gun or even spray paint in some situations will agree that anything with spindles is much easier sprayed. But I was not ready to get the sprayer out for the year. It's kind of a fair weather activity for me, so just using my paintbrush here, and went through and painted the entire chair. Started at the bottom. It is nice to do everything from the underneath, and then when you flip it over to do the coats on the top, you don't have to worry as much about messing up the top because you're painting the bottom. So it ended up taking 2 coats to get the full coverage that I wanted. Believe it or not, even in spite of sanding, some places in this little chair were still kind of slick surface. So that was surprising. So there were some places that I really had to make sure that I covered, and I didn't undo, reactivate the paint with my second coat. So anyway, I just move on and finish painting the chair with 2 coats of this Rust-Oleum in coastal blue. So here it is with its 2 coats of paint. I am going to sand it back. I just wanted to stress it a little bit, and I want to sand on that chalk paint. If you are used to using chalk paint, then you know that using a high grit soft sandpaper like this is a 240 grit just wrapped around an old sanding block, you know that it just turns soft as butter. It's smooth. And so I wanted to do that for the whole chair, but then I also really wanted to give it some distressed look in several places where it would naturally distress, such as the arms, maybe the rails in the front where somebody had put their feet. So here you can see just where I brought back some, it went all the way down to the natural wood in some places. Some you can see the original pink, and even where it was faded and looked like it had been white or even a really pale yellow, some of that came through just from where it had been sun faded. So I think it would still be adorable in any nursery, but it wasn't the color I wanted. I wanted it to be a little less smoky blue and something a little bit more antique and dark. So using this Waverly Antique Wax, mixed 50% wax and about 50% water. This is actually just tap water, but I just refill that bottle so that I always have water out there in my shop for different things like this. So I mix it, and it's just a little tiny bit thicker than water. And using just an old paintbrush, this is that moment that you say, oh my goodness, she painted brown over that blue paint. But this is really awesome. It goes on and wipes off very easily, leaving a very dark, rich color. And then any of those places that were distressed, it helps to give those the antique as well, where I might have gone all the way down to the wood and it would have that new natural look to it. And this will get in there so that it looks like it's been painted blue forever. It has that natural aging and years of dirt. I know you're thinking that if I wanted the dirt look, I could have left it the way it was when it got pulled out of the river, but I think this looks much better. So following the same process that I did with the paint, I flipped it upside down, starting on the bottom, and went through and gave all those little spindles a good paint and a good wipe, and brought back that deep color of that paint all the way.
Seeing eyes of mine, what do you feel beside? I don't know where we're gonna fly like you did.
So even though the antique wax is a wax, I really wanted an additional wax on here just for that durability over the chalk paint. So here I actually used the Debi's Design Diary DIY wax in clear, and I covered the entire chair and then wiped it back, and I just used an old sock. It was a lint-free, smooth sock, but it helped to give that. It got rid of all the extra wax. You wipe until you can pretty much go smoothly across there. So here I am. I cut out, and I did not film it, but I cut out a seat. When we found it, there was no seat. And just using a thin piece of foam, because it is a kind of small chair, I didn't double up and make it really thick. But using a thin piece of foam, I cut it the same size as the little seat. And then using the spray glue, you spray both sides of what you're going to glue together. So this is tacky spray. And I sprayed the foam and the board. And one thing is, this is glue, so it will glump up into your sprayer. So you just pick off the piece that's kind of there. You spray again both pieces that you're going to use, and it will, when they merge together, it creates that bond that you need, and that holds your foam down. You don't have to use a glue to glue your foam down. You can just set your foam on there, but I find it so much easier when I am trying to upholster something if my foam and whatever the surface is are already connected and I don't have to. So you can see there I'm proving that, look, it really worked, it sticks. So going through and getting that. And the other thing I do when I upholster is I always use some kind of batting or thin fabric or something before I use my actual fabric. It helps to just make sure that the edges are kind of round and that it gives you that extra durability. This is my DeWalt hand stapler. I do have a PowerShot power stapler, but I honestly like this DeWalt hand stapler way better. I have fewer staples I have to hammer in. You know, I'm not getting anything for pushing this, but I really like this stapler. So I fold the edges over. It's just, you know, kind of my, I don't know, my OCD. And I go all the way around and I get a really good attachment there of just that batting fabric. And just make sure that it's connected. Not as many staples as I would do with the actual upholstery, but just enough, you know, that you can see that it's all the way around. So here is my wonderful grain sack fabric. This is actually the third thing that I have covered with this, and it is so soft and so easy to use, but it is strong and durable, just like a grain sack. So I always like to do my stripes over on the side. I don't know, maybe it relieves some of the pressure of having to get it in the middle, but I just really like them over there on the side. So using the same method, fold it over so there's no raw, rough edge, and I begin to staple it and go all the way around. Now, I'm going to tell you, I am not going to win any prizes for Upholster of the Year. I've really, I'm kind of messy on corners. I just haven't really mastered that yet. But I look at it several times to make sure that my stripe is even and straight. And then I just go around and try to get the corners as even as possible. This fortunately is one where you're not going to see the bottom because it's going to be screwed down into the chair. But I still wanted to try to get them smooth so they would fit in there well and keep everything even and not bunched up on one side or anything. So again, not really going to win a prize for the best upholstery job, but it's on there and it has a million staples in there to make sure that it's not going anywhere at all. So there you go. You can see there's my corners. You know, you do what you do. So here I put it in there, and again, there were no slats or anything. I don't know what the original seat in this looked like. You see a lot of them that have slats, but this didn't have any kind of holes or anything here. So I don't know, but I went ahead and drilled some pilot holes through there just so I didn't crack my spindle when I put the screw through. But I decided to just flip it upside down and screw that through there through the board. I did use screws. I made sure that they were not long enough that they were going to poke up into the seat. So they were just long enough to really grab that wood, but not so long that they would work through the wood and somebody would, if they really sat in this, I don't need any little kids getting their bum poked with the screw. So again, just using these little drywall screws, I went through there and made sure that it was securely fastened. So here we go. Is it not the cutest little thing you've ever seen? I cannot believe how this turned out from a chair. So you guys, if you do not already subscribe to this channel, but you like Trash to Treasures, please do subscribe. And then also you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and I've started a new Pinterest page.